On May the 10th, 1774, a reign of 59 years comes to an end. Louis XV dies of smallpox. Hopes for a renewed France free of corruption and decadence rest with the promise of the young monarchs. Queen Marie-Antoinette, 19 years old, and King Louis XVI, 20. The young queen views her accession as a sort of liberation.
Madame, my very dear mother, although it was God's will that I be born into the rank I occupy today, I cannot help but admire how fate chose me for the most beautiful kingdom in Europe.
At the time, Marie-Antoinette believes that her status as queen will free her from her obligations. She takes more and more liberties with court etiquette. However, what might be forgiven a dauphine cannot be forgiven a queen, because from that moment on, her every action takes on an official nature.
Her first act as queen is to ask her husband for a palace of her own. His first act as king is to give her one. The Petit Trianon, a small chateau 15 minutes from the grand palace of Versailles.
Marie-Antoinette turns the Petit Trianon into the statement of her independence. And independence is truly her key word. She immediately makes it her exclusive estate. Even the king only visits upon invitation.
After 4 years in Versailles, the young queen embraces the Petit Trianon as a refuge from the rigid obligations of the court. But absenting herself from the protocol of the court is not without consequences.
She was playing with fire. She was turning the courtiers' competition with each other into a kind of animosity between the high nobility and herself. And that shift would have far-reaching and disastrous implications for the throne.
The Petit Trianon is a woman's building. In stark contrast to the Château of Versailles, the building is marked by simplicity, clarity, and a feminine spirit. But when Marie-Antoinette took possession in 1774, the jewel was in an inappropriate setting, right in the middle of Louis XV's botanical garden. The vast garden held the most prestigious collection in Europe, over 4,000 varieties of plants, and a world-renowned horticultural school. But Marie-Antoinette didn't want to see greenhouses when she stepped out of her door.
The first thing she did when she inherited the estate was to ask her gardener and her architect to destroy Louis XV's botanical garden. This decision is very poorly received at the time by both men.
She demolishes the experimental greenhouses and moves the rare plants to the King's Garden in Paris, the ancestor of today's Jardin des Plantes.
Modern and stylish Marie-Antoinette commanded a garden in the English style, nature idealized through softly sculpted pastoral landscapes. Fashionable with English aristocrats for 30 years, they were just coming into style in France, replacing the rigorous geometric French gardens created for Louis XIV.
The French garden is a reminder of the king's authority. It's a garden that's all about power and authority. In this style of garden, plants are aligned with impeccable precision. The French garden is created by a garden architect who wants nature to bend to his will. In a landscaped or English-style garden, the designer becomes a poet. He imagines nature not as it is, but as he would like it to be.
Vous l'aviez souhaité, votre jardin anglais sera
Marie-Antoinette put the project in the hands of Richard Mique, the king's architect, and the chief gardener, Antoine Richard. Plans were drawn up by the Count of Caramont, a gifted amateur gardener, and personally approved by the Queen. Atmosphere and sentiment were inspired by Hubert Robert, the acclaimed painter of picturesque landscapes.
Marie-Antoinette both commissions and oversees the work on the Trianon gardens. She is personally involved in this new project. She knows what she wants and doesn't hesitate to have a grove or an ornament reshaped 10 times in order to get it right.
Cette pièce-là sera plus vers là-bas, plus petit, effectivement.
Nothing is natural on the Trianon grounds. She moves around tens of thousands of cubic meters of earth. She creates hills, ponds, and even lakes.
Several fabriques are built. These are small architectural elements designed to decorate and punctuate the landscape. This is Marie-Antoinette's touch of genius.
Foremost among the extraordinary fabriques in the Queen's new garden is the Temple of Love, an ersatz Roman temple to Cupid.
And placing this temple on an island in the middle of the river is an absolute stroke of genius.
Overlooking an artificial lake from a man-made hill, the Belvedere is an octagonal stone structure in the neoclassical style. Doors and windows open on all sides to form an open-air music salon. The luminous interior is adorned with flowery arabesques, delicate echoes of the garden that surrounds it.
This is Marie-Antoinette's style, extraordinary elegance. Neoclassical, very Louis XVI, one might say, but in miniature. And very floral, with lots and lots of flowers and garlands.
She brings this landscape and the Temple of Love seen through the windows inside the room. And conversely, the decorative patterns on the furniture and artworks are inspired by the surrounding nature. Wild cornflowers, sunflowers, pine cones, and bucolic motifs.
The masterpiece is, of course, the furniture, decorated with the wheat motif in the Queen's bedroom at the Petit Trianon. The woodwork is by Jacob. It is painted in natural tones with jasmine flowers. Miraculously, these pieces are still upholstered in the original silk.
When news of her expenses becomes public, Marie-Antoinette's extravagance is blamed for the shortfall in the royal treasury. In reality, her expenses are a tiny part of the national debt. But this first inkling of discontent darkens her success. Her garden and palace are beautiful, but they cost her the sympathy of her subjects.